Somebody. I got cold. I had to put on a vest. I was doing laundry and this came out of a warm dryer and I popped it on. I don't have my microphone on. Here we go. I'm getting it now. There's one end. And there's the other. How about now? How about now? We got sound? Give me some heads up. I can't hear you. Oh no. How about now? Yay, I get some thumbs up now. I guess it happened when I dropped the phone, or the phone fell. It fell. It was not, well, I was trying to dismiss something. Anyway, get on in here. I've got my basket of topics. What will today's topic be? Well, guess what I found down in here? Oh, I think this will be our topic. I have a beautiful little picture that my friend Tamara gave me in September of 2009. That's over 10 years ago. She came here. And it is, I believe in God's incredible love and His amazing grace. I am forever His. And it's a beautiful little plaque. And it was at the bottom of my little basket. Wow, and a flower. So I think I'll be putting this up on my little wall. I think I will. I shall add that to my little menagerie. I thought you were going to say iPod. Oh. Anyway, folks, we just have no clue how small we are in the whole scheme of things, but how large we are in God's heart. If God has, we can't even imagine what God is, I believe in God's incredible love. That takes faith. Faith to believe that somebody loves you the way he does. I'm reading a book today, and there's no news going on and nothing happening. There's what news is out there is hard news, the coronavirus and all that stuff. And so I'm reading a book. And I'm reading a book, and it's a biography of a politician. But I've met this politician when I was a teenager. I met this politician. And it was quite strange. And he wasn't even a politician yet. He was just working for somebody's campaign. I met him, and he won't remember it, but one day I'll ask him. But here's the thing: we're so small in just the whole essence of everything, but yet we can make a difference. We can make a difference. We can make a difference in our own lives, in the lives of our family. We can change things. I know my son, he works with the youth group at church, and he chaperones things with the schools, and he does lots of things. Well, at youth group one night, one of the kids asked him what his testimonial was about finding the Lord. And he said, and I've had this same problem. I was raised in church. My grandmother, it was important for her. And then when we got old enough, when you train up a child in the way they should go, when they're old, they won't depart from it. And I knew at age 14 that I needed to be baptized and commit my life to Christ. And Justin had to give his testimonial to these teenagers. And he said, I really don't have some epiphany thing that happened to me, but my mama took me to church. And she was at every church function, at every youth group. She set the example for me. And when he told me that, you don't know that you're leading your child to be a leader. You're guiding your child. So, where did I put my little plaque? There it is. I believe in God's incredible love and his amazing grace. And I am forever his. When we dedicate ourselves to something outside of us, it changes our lives. It really does. And we don't know it. So, this morning I was telling you about Scott Adams' podcast. It's on Periscope. Look him up on Twitter. You can find a link to it. He talked about this cartoonist. And his name was Jack Kennedy. Well, I looked up the cartoonist. And I read his biography. He grew up in Central Florida. He went to school at the University of Memphis. And my friend Donna's here. He taught at UT Martin. He also went to school at Furman, which is just down the road from me. All of this fits together. And then he taught at there's a school here in Appalachia that is a folk school, and he's taught there. And I think he lives pretty close to me up here. Well, there was a way to send him a note, and I sent him a little note saying, I heard about him today from Scott Adams, that I heard about his story, and I looked him up, and that my son and daughter-in-law had gone to the University of Memphis, and that we lived in the mountains of North Carolina now, and how his little words of being kind to Scott in 1988 had reverberated, because Scott Adams is the reason I do a show every day, and sometimes 2 shows a day, because I watched him and I felt my need to listen to him. That's why I do this show. So this man, Jack, who was a cartoonist that was kind to Scott, has helped me to help you. See how it all comes full circle? I love it when it comes full circle. But then it does one other thing. It's just like a drop in a pond. Poof! And it spreads out. It spreads out and it touches other people. And it's infinite. It's infinite what we can do. You never know what me talking to you is going to help somebody else. You never know. So folks, let's drink to something. Let's drink to being a light in somebody's life. Let's drink to being that little drop that hits the pond and spreads out. Let's drink to being where you need to be when you need to be there. Because as we build our talent stacks to help other people, as we learn different ways, I'm reading this biography, most amazing biography of a man who was determined to be a U.S. Senator. Determined. And I love to read biographies. So listen to Scott this morning, listen to this book this afternoon. You see how there's divine appointment in everything. It really is. There is divine appointment in everything if we will just listen to the God breezes. Now, I learned about God breezes on mine and Robert's very first date. And it was funny. He bet me that I could not identify a tree. Now, it wasn't a real bet, but he said, I bet you can't identify this tree. And I worked at a sawmill. I could identify trees by the bark. I've sold trees. I know trees. And I took a class in college about trees. Silvicology it's called. And I learned how to spell trees. On mine and Robert's first date, which was on a Friday night, we had dinner together, which I paid. And then we went to the coffee shop and we played Scrabble. You don't ever want to play Robert Silly in Scrabble. But only thing I could spell was tree names, simple tree names, and it was funny. So we played this Scrabble, and then he looks at me and he says, there's a tree I can't identify, and I need some help on. Will you help me identify it? I said, well, yeah. He said, meet me tomorrow. I said, I'm going on a hike tomorrow. I'm going on a mushroom hike in the forest. I'll be through about noon. He said, well, call me when you get through. So I called him up and I said, I'm through. We didn't have cell phones then. I had to go to a payphone and call him. And he said, meet me. This is funny. We had dinner next to where the old fly shop was on our main street in town at Julie's Subs. And we ate a sub sandwich, and then I parked my car at the Ingles grocery store, and we went to look at this tree, and I couldn't identify it. I could not identify this tree. So we took a little branch of it, and we had a brand new arboretum back then. It was 1996. It was August of 1996. We had this brand new arboretum. And I said, why don't we go to the arboretum? And we drove over to the arboretum, and we went inside, and nobody working on a Saturday. There was nobody there to identify. But we left the branch, and we asked somebody to identify it, and they got back to us. And we found out it was a box elder tree. A box elder tree. Well, as we left the arboretum, it came this terrible rainstorm. I mean, thunderstorm out of the blue, raining cats and dogs, and I have on a white t-shirt. Can I say white t-shirt, wet t-shirt contest? I had a white t-shirt on that had puffy mushrooms all over it, Carhartt shorts, hiking boots with wool socks. And Robert looks at me, he said, well, do you want to go to the movie? And I said, looking like this? I can't go to the movie looking like this. And I said, do you like pasta? And he said, yes. And I said, well, why don't you let me cook you some pasta? So we went to the store and we got some pasta stuff and we drove to his house. My car is parked at the grocery store. And I cooked him linguine and scallops and clams, and he thought he was in heaven. We had dinner on the side porch, right where our kitchen sink is right now. So you see, this is the first time he ever told me about God breezes. And he said to me, you know, God breezes, it's like we talked for hours, and it was getting way too late for me to go back to my car. And so I said, can I crash? And all he had was a love seat. So I ended up putting cushions on the floor, and his cat slept with me. I've never slept with a cat in my life. And the next day we went hiking with his sister and brother-in-law. So, and I knew that night, as Patty said, I was going to spend the rest of my life with Robert. And that's the God breezes, because I talked about it in Sync Reflections, that we're both in two little boats. And those boats, you think of the old north wind blowing. You see that picture of the old north wind blowing, and you're sitting in boats with sails. And those sails bring you together. How wonderful. How wonderful is that story of the God breezes that happen. So there is a plan for everything. Everything has a plan. And God has this plan. We don't know what it is, but we got to follow the God breezes. We have got to we got to get rid of the clutter in our life so we can hear that little voice that says, you need to do this. You need to do this. And it changes everything. Being willing. Let go of the clutter. Let go of your perfectionism, trying to find the right person. And allow yourself to be blown in the direction you're supposed to go. I know when I came to North Carolina, I came with my second husband. And when he left after our very first fight and I never saw him again, I just threw my hands up and I said, okay, God, you have brought me to North Carolina for a reason. I'm going to stick around and find out what that is. And you know, within a year, I met Robert. How beautiful is that? Robert and I have been married 23 years. 23 years in November the 30th. So be willing and open to hearing those God breezes. And when you get rid of the clutter in your life, you're going to find the happiness that you're looking for. You're going to find your purpose. Well, I love you all. I'm going to get back to my book, and I'm cooking, believe it or not. I have got, I'm going to make some jambalaya. Yep, and a peach cobbler. When it snows, I get all crazy. I get in cooking mode. It's really weird. I love you all. I'll see you later. Don't forget about our sales. Multi-wands, pink rags. The FCC pack is going away next week. So get it ordered now. Talk to y'all later. Bye.